I am so excited to talk about my 10 favorite books of 2024. And for those of you who have never watched a video on my channel, not shocking because there's only one video on there right now from years ago. But hi, I'm Michaela. I work a corporate 9 to 5 job. I work in product development from 9 to 5 every day. And then in any nooks and crannies of free time that I do have, I love to read. That is my preferred form of escapism. It's the one thing that makes me happiest, especially in this season of my life. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the 10 best books that I read in 2024. First things first, we're going to talk about some stats. So I read 41 books in 2024. For me, I like to average at least 3 to 4 books a month. So that's one a week. That has been manageable and doable with a full-time job. Okay, my 10th favorite book that I read in 2024 was Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco. The Prince of Sin series, it's really cool because each book follows a different Prince of Sin. So we had, what was it? Oh, we had Envy in the first one, in Throne of the Fallen, which I gave 5 stars. I loved that book. That was one that I read Christmas time last year. And then this one follows Gluttony. And what I love about these books is that they're just such a great form of escapism. They are just a fun, adventurous, spicy fantasy standalone series. So you don't have to read the first one to read the second. I would recommend it though, especially because I loved the first one even more. I rated this one 4.75 stars. My 9th favorite book of this past year was Funny Story by Emily Henry. This is my favorite Emily Henry book that I've read thus far. I've only read Beach Read, Happy Place, and then this one. I still need to read People We Meet on Vacation. Oh, I also read Book Lovers too. Anyway, this is my favorite of all the books that she has read, of all the books that she's written. I smile whenever I think about this book. I read it on a flight to and from Cincinnati and just had the best time reading it. I love the way Emily Henry writes banter, and you can always expect just a really good emotional punch to the book as well. And there's always so much more to her books than just romance or rom-com. My 8th favorite book this year is Play Along by Liz Tomford. I love the Windy City series. This is the 4th book in the series. I read all 4 books in 2024, and I love all 4 of them. I honestly would just recommend this series wholeheartedly. The first book, Mile High, I only gave 3 stars. It was my least favorite of the 4. I will be talking about the second book later on in this video. And the third book is amazing too, Caught Up, but not a personal favorite for me. Play Along though, I had so much fun reading this book. It's just a really fun, playful golden retriever for the male main character. And Kennedy is the girl. She's on the staff of the team that he plays for. She's the physical therapist, I think. I can't remember, but I loved their dynamic. Also, all of the books in the Windy City series you can read on Kindle Unlimited, which is where I read all 4 of them first. And I bought the physical copies of these because I love them that much. My 7th favorite book of the year is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. As I'm ranking these, I'm like, all of these books are incredible, and I feel like this doesn't deserve to be like the 7th on my list, but I had a really great reading year, so this is really saying something. These 10 made my top 10 because I really loved the majority of the books that I read this year. Anyway, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez is truly the perfect summer read. I love Abby Jimenez's writing. I cried during this book. I laughed. It was just such a cool storyline too for these 2 main characters. They have this curse. They think they have this curse where whoever they are in a relationship with, when they break up, that person that they were dating goes off to go find their future husband or wife. And they both kind of realize through a Reddit forum that they have this same, through the Reddit forum that these 2 characters meet through, they realize that they have the same curse, and they start talking and FaceTiming and just develop a friendship first. But of course, it grows into something more. I love Abby Jimenez's writing. I will auto buy any book that she writes. Yours Truly was one of my favorite books in 2023. Just for the Summer, one of my favorites in 2024. All that to say, I love this book and I highly, highly recommend it. Sixth favorite book is Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. I love this. I love this book so much. Speaking of escapism, Elsie Silver for me is the perfect escapism author. She writes cowboy romances, small town, farm. Oh my God, they're just so good. You can read pretty much all of Elsie Silver's books on Kindle Unlimited. So I read it there first. And because I loved this book so much, I bought the physical copy. This is a part of the Rose Hill series. It's the second book in the series. The first one, Wild Love, I gave 3 stars. I liked it a lot, but wasn't a favorite. This is one that I gave 5 stars to. This book, Wild Eyes, has one of my favorite male main characters. He's a single dad, and the kids in the story is really what actually sold this for me. I loved the dynamic between the male main character, the female main character, and the kids. It was just one of the most heartwarming reads that I read in 2024. It just tugged at all my heartstrings. It made me cry. It made me laugh. It's just so sweet and swoon worthy. It will make you like kick your feet with just giddiness. It's such a good book. I really, really loved this one. My fifth favorite book in 2024, The Right Move by Liz Tomford. This is the second book in the Windy City series. It follows Ryan and Indy. Oh my God. I love this book. I love Ryan. He is one of my favorite, truly, male main character, book boyfriends, whatever you want to call him. This is the blueprint. It's so good. Also, it's a basketball romance. I played basketball growing up, so that really sold me on this as well. But I love the acts of service that he does for Indy in this book. And he remembered all these little details about Indy, and it's just one of my favorite romances. I will recommend this book to anyone that I can. My fourth favorite book in 2024, A Long Time Coming by Megan Quinn. This is one, again, that I read on Kindle Unlimited. It's actually the third book in a series. It's a part of the Kane Brothers series. You can read all 3 books on Kindle Unlimited. I actually read the third book first by mistake, but I'm so glad that I did because this was a 5-star read for me. I love this book. It had some of the best tension I have read in a long time. It's a friends to lovers romance, but just these are like true best friends. They're both nerdy. They meet in college. I loved how nerdy actually both of the male and female main characters are. It made my nerd heart really happy. So the female main character is about to get married to someone else, and she starts to do all the things planning for her wedding with her best friend, who is the male main character. And just things unfold. It's got so much tension. It's really cool too because these 2 characters know each other so well. And it's just one of my favorite contemporary romance stories that I've read in a long time. The spice is also great. So you can read this on Kindle Unlimited, but I loved it so much that I bought the physical book. My third favorite book of 2024, The Ex Vows by Jessica Joyce. This was my second Jessica Joyce book that I read in 2024. I read You with a View earlier in 2024 and I loved it. Really wholesome, like tugs at your heartstrings, emotional, sweet, great romance. But this one, The Ex Vows, was a 5-star read for me. I loved this book. This is a second chance romance. And in my opinion, it's a second chance romance done right. I don't always love that trope, but this one I really, really loved the way that Jessica Joyce executed it in this book. It's also based in Northern California, Sonoma, which is where I went to college. So that was a cool nostalgic tie to this book that made me feel even more connected to it. And I just love, oh my God, I love their friendship. I love the tension in this book too. Also, the paper rings part of this book, sobbing. Not sobbing, but I was definitely crying. It was just, it's such a cute book. My third favorite book of the year. So clearly, I loved it and I highly recommend it. Now, my top 2 books of 2024, these are ones that are God tier, changed my brain chemistry, made me cry. I annotated them both ridiculously. So I will be talking about my top two books a little bit longer than I did the other ones. I'm so sad. I just realized I forgot the Heartstopper series. Okay, this series took over my life for a large portion of 2024. I am so mad that I didn't include that, but just know this would be like, I would put this in my top three reads of 2024. The entire series, books 1 through 5, and the show are, it's one of my favorite series of all time. It's a graphic novel series. It's a young adult coming of age story. It's a romance between two boys who are friends that fall in love. And I just think it's such a beautiful representation of love and growing up and all of the trials and all the hardships and the things that you go through when you're a teenager and all the side characters. I love the side characters. I love Nick and Charlie. I would recommend looking up trigger warnings for both the graphic novel series and the show, but I think they casted the show perfectly. I, oh God, I love the music in the show too. Highly recommend if you want a really great playlist on Spotify, look up the Heartstopper music playlist on Spotify. It's so good. Some of my favorite songs are actually in that playlist. If a book really just strikes a chord within me and really leaves an indelible mark on my heart, which Heartstopper, Alone with You in the Ether, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, those three books really left an indelible mark on my heart. And that's why I journaled about them. But Heartstopper, I did like a 2-page spread and I wrote out the lyrics to one of the songs in the show called Serotonin by Angie McMahon. McMahon? Ooh, I'm butchering your name, Angie. I'm so sorry. I love that song and I love the lyrics in that song. But anyway, but my second favorite book of 2024, Alone with You in the Ether by Olive E. Blake. As you can see, those are all just quotes that I love. That's what all those tabs mean for me. I adore this book. I love Olive E. Blake's writing. This was my very first book that I've ever read by Olive E. Blake, and she will be an auto-buy author for me now. I am so excited to read the rest of the books in her catalog because of how much I loved this story. And Alone with You in the Ether is a really flawed, imperfect, emotional love story. It's the two main characters in Alone with You in the Ether are both struggling with their own mental health issues, and you see them kind of go through different seasons of their life together, different seasons of their mental health issues as well. And it's just written in such a beautiful, poetic, heartbreaking, flawed, imperfect way. And just I I I love this book. This is one that I will be rereading for sure. I will actually read a couple of my favorite quotes. I'm going to go ahead and find them, but just to show you how lyrical and beautiful the prose is in this, I hope it encourages you to read it. Empires have fallen like this, he thinks, but it only makes him want her more. Makes him look at his hands and think, my God, what a waste of time doing anything else but holding her. What a waste. And then he thinks aloud, Jesus fucking Christ, what have you done to me? And she says, kiss me. He kisses her. Thinks, goes on, ruin me. Wreck me, please. She kisses him back, and she does. What? What? You're kidding me. Oh my God, there's so many quotes that I could read from this. So, just for context, this is just my journal that I jot down lyrics that I like, book quotes that I like. I put poems in here that I love and kind of use them as writing prompts. So, I'll use quotes, lyrics, poems as writing prompts and just do my own self reflection and inner work, if you will, in my journal that way. But Alone with You in the Ether, I did 3 pages just on this book alone in here. These are just quotes that I loved. I wrote like a madwoman. And my top book of 2024, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I could start crying just thinking about this book right now. I love this book with my whole entire heart. This is my favorite book of all time. Number 1 of any book that I've ever read. This is my number 1. It's a book that I don't know if it's the season of life that I'm in, if that's why that it resonated with me as much as it did. But these characters are characters that I have thought about every day since I read it early in 2024. I love Addie. I love Henry, Luke, Luce. I don't know if I would say like I love the devil in this book, but I don't want to give away too much of the plot because this is one that I would actually recommend you just go in and read because I don't want to give away any of the premise of this book. I could read you, and I'm going to show you my journal entries for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I think I wrote 4 pages in my journal just on this book alone because it makes you think about your life. It makes you think about the people in your life. It makes you think about how you show up in this world and really makes you reflect on that. And it was just a really introspective read for me and made me think a lot. And I haven't stopped thinking about this book since, but I just randomly flipped to this page. And of course, incredibly lyrical line that I'm going to read to you. It says, Addie's head resting against his stomach, the soft in and out of his breath, like a shallow wave beneath her. Here is a new kind of silence, rarer than the rest. The easy quiet of familiar spaces, of places that feel simply because you are not alone within them. Really regret having it on my shelf as long as I did. I love V.E. Schwab's writing. Again, like Olive E. Blake, I love the lyrical prose and the way that she writes her characters. It just really scratches a certain itch in my brain, and just I love this book. As you can see, all of these tabs are just quotes that I love. I tabbed this book an ungodly amount. I also have 4 editions and copies of this book because I love it that much. And this is the one from my very first reading experience. I want to reread it again. So, like I said, I did just a quick journal page about my thoughts as I was about halfway through it. I was on page 267 when I wrote this first journal entry, and it made me think of the song The Prophecy by Taylor Swift. So, journaled that. And then I did, well, that's a Noah Kahn concert insert, but I did a thing of just quotes for that page and then a 2-page spread on this book. When I tell you I love this book, I love this book truly and wholeheartedly. It's one that I will remember for the rest of my life. I don't know if it will be for everyone. In my opinion, I don't know how it couldn't be because I loved it so much. Those were all of my favorite books of 2024. I know that it was a little bit more than 10, but it's okay. I had such a great reading year. I read so many books and got lost in so many worlds that I will never forget. I met characters that feel like friends who I love. One of the many, many reasons why I love reading was because of some of the books that I read this year. So I hope you all had a wonderful reading year in 2024. And I hope you all have a fantastic start to your 2025. Any books that you have read in 2024 or just books that you would recommend for me to read in 2025, please drop them in the comments below. I would love to talk about all things books with anyone who will talk about them with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or night, wherever you're watching from.